Hey guys, my name is Anshu Bhatt. I'm your host for today's session, which is Introduction to Big Data and Data Analytics. Hope you're all doing well and maintaining social distancing. Before starting the introduction to big data, let me just give a quick heads up about this platform. So, many of you would be wondering what is this platform? What is tech industry? So let me answer this question. Tech industry basically provides a platform for knowledge sharing. So, and who are we? So we are the volunteers for tech industry for this knowledge sharing platform, which will give a platform for all the students, professionals to gain the knowledge in of many courses. It's not limited to a particular industry. It's not limited to IT. We have many courses. We have many webinars for mechanical, electrical, and even for MBA guys, sales and marketing people. So all these courses will be lined up in future. So it just provides a bridge between young students, young professional who want to gain the knowledge, and those people, those professional who are expert in their who are expert in these technologies, who have in hand experience of these technologies. So uh, just where knowledge platform where where one section of society will just gain knowledge and other will provide the knowledge. So we have multiple ongoing courses on this the tech industry. I'll just go to this industry on this website, which is www.techindustry.in. Let me just share my screen. Can you see the screen? Okay.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So this is our website, which is www.techindustry.in. As you can see, we have two webinars, ongoing webinar. The first one is Introduction to Big Data, which is the present webinar, and the second is Core Java, which will be the third session for Core Java, which is on Sunday, same time, 6 to 7. So you can, if you want, you can register here. There is a register button, and also we tech industry have four at present. We have four volunteers, and we already have completed two sessions, and 60 plus people have joined this. So it's just growing startup company. So all the information regarding the courses or the upcoming courses, you can just click here subscribe now button, and it will take you to Facebook page. So in this Facebook page you can get all information of upcoming, say, what are the sessions that are coming, and timing and all those. You can see here this Facebook page. You can just scroll down here, and all the information regarding the upcoming sessions will be displayed here. So guys, do subscribe this website and you will get all the information, and hope you can just take this opportunity, which will be very beneficial for your career. So without any delay, I will just hand over the session to Suraj, and Suraj, which will give this introduction to big data analysis session. And hi, Suraj.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, I'm fine.
Yeah, guys, one more thing. If you have any question, just type in the chat box, or you can just answer those questions at the end of the session. So we will have a question answer segment there for 5 minutes where we can discuss all these questions. So thank you, and hope you have all the very good session, which will be very beneficial to all of you. Thanks, Suraj. You can take over.
Okay, fine, sure. So I hope all are listening to me. I just need all of you guys to just unmute your screen because I want the sessions to be interactive. So please, it will be better to unmute the screen. All of you first of all.
Yes, Rich.
Yeah, hi Raman. I can
Hello.
see a lot of screens. OnePlus, Pankaj. Please unmute your screen for first 5 minutes at least.
Yeah, hi Suraj.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Look, if there is any question that you want to ask, you are free to ask. At any point of time, you feel that you should ask any question, you should ask at that point of time. It's okay if you are not comfortable in unmuting your screen, but you should ask the question at that point of time. Okay. So without wasting any time, let me begin with. So let me introduce myself to you. I have overall 3 years of experience in big data, as well as I am working in data analytics right now. So I have worked for multiple industries as a freelancer. First 2.5 years I was working for mostly as a freelancer for multiple US based clients, and now I'm working as a full time as a data analyst. So I have pretty much abundance of experience with me, so that I can, which I'll share with you. Okay, introduction to big data and analytics. So the first question, obviously itself, what is a big? I have divided this presentation into 2 parts. Big data is one segment and data analytics is another segment. Both are completely different. They don't mix. Okay, so that is why 2 different parts. Why it's 2 different parts, I'll explain you later. But first of all, can anybody answer what is big data? By the definitely, when you heard the term big data, what are the thoughts in your mind? Okay, I cannot see the screen or chat box right now. It will be better if you will.
Dealing with huge amount of data.
Okay, dealing with huge amount of data. One. Any other suggestions? Okay. Considering that no one is any other guy? Variety of
Hello.
data. One thing I. Hello.
Yes, Suraj. So with the initial understanding of big data, I think what somebody has already answered. Big data is something when we have lot of data.
Yeah,
Because now,
I have heard
yeah,
these 3 questions. Lot of
yeah,
data, dealing with data, and someone said variety.
correct.
I was just asking if there is no one, then we can move ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll just share my screen again, and I'll just move ahead. So let us move ahead. First of all, there is one advice for freshers. Before you go to the interview, if you are applying for some data analyst, data analytics, or data scientist, there is some interns for data scientist position. Sure, this is the first thing that they are going to ask you. What is big data? Because all these fields roam around this term, big data. Okay. So there is one advice for you. Don't say that directly that big data is this. If you are saying that suppose big data, it means that you have to deal with a lot of data. That means you are referring to yourself that I am saying that. Okay. But this is one thing that they are looking for, that if I'm an interviewer and if I'm interviewing you guys, so I'll just see that this guy is confident enough, but in a wrong direction. You guys are not reading about technological giants. Fine. So it is better to first go. It is for freshers. It is better if you go with some technology. If you are learning some technology, learn it from technological giants, not from Quora, Google, or Stack Overflow or something like that. Fine. So first, this is a Gartner blog. Okay. So for those of you who don't know what Gartner is a newspaper for technology. Various people from the C-suite. C-suite means CFO, CEO, CTO. These guys read this Gartner blog on daily basis. So what Gartner has mentioned here, we can see at the bottom of the screen. Big data is high volume. Okay. Note one thing: high volume, high velocity, and variety information assets that demand cost-effective, innovative forms of information processing for enhanced insight and decision making. Okay, so that was one definition from Gartner. What are the 3 terms that we read? Volume, velocity, and variety. Next is from the Oracle documentation. I am not saying by myself. Oracle is a multi-billion-dollar company. Gartner is a multi-billion-dollar company. They are saying that the big data is the data that contains greater variety, increasing volume, and with ever increasing velocity. So these 3 terms again appear over here: variety, volume, and velocity. Next, what is not big data? Okay, so this is a very important concept for you guys. Big data doesn't always mean that there is when the data is in larger amounts, that is big data. Okay, there's a difference. You have your MySQL, you have your there are different kind of data. I can say that then there are 4 types that I can differentiate right now. One is structured data, unstructured data, raw data. Okay, and then the images there are. Then we have the images and the semi-structured data. So this structured and semi-structured data doesn't fall under the category. If you have this data alone, structured and semi-structured, this doesn't fall under the category of big data. Big data means that you have all the varieties of data. It should be structured, unstructured, semi-structured, raw. Raw means audio files, video files, images, whatever it is, throw it over there and you get the big data term. Okay. So here is a term from IBM. Again, They have described it over here, the big data technology. No single technology can be called big data, which require no single. This is the term that you need to emphasize on. No single technology can be called big data. Big data means there are a lot of technologies that are working together, as someone said, to handle this data. Okay, there are a lot of technologies to handle this data. And what is this data? This data is called as big data. So if I sum up, if I sum up what I'll say in the interview, if your data has these three characteristics: volume, variety, and velocity, then you have a big data. Okay, who said this? I didn't said that. IBM said that. Gartner said that, and Oracle said that. Now let us understand this term. What is velocity? What is variety? And what is volume? Okay. Volume means that there is a large amount of data coming inside your storage. Whatever your storage is, there is a large amount of data coming on daily basis or on hourly basis or on minute basis. That depends. Okay. So large amount of data, that is the volume. Okay. Then variety. Variety means structured, unstructured, raw, semi-structured, whatever the kind of data, there should be a variety in the data that you will face, that you will have to put it into the storage. That this is the variety. Volume is done, variety is done, and velocity, with which speed the data is coming towards you. Okay, suppose if I'll take an example, we have Geo. Okay, Geo generates almost 1 petabyte of data in 24 hours. That is a pretty huge amount of data that they are generating. From where they are generating? Your mobile phones, your browser history. Okay, your call usage, internet usage, text message usage. Based on that, whatever they are data generating, how they are using that data, that is also altogether different thing. I'll explain you. But first, this is the velocity that they are generating the data. In one day, 1 petabyte of data. Facebook generates the same amount of data in 1 hour. So in one day, they are generating 24 petabytes of data overall. So this is velocity. So if your data has these three properties, your data is in variety, your data is coming in with a huge velocity and volume, then you have a big data. Okay, I'll unshare from my screen for 1 minute, and I'll just ask you, did everybody understand this? What is big data? Hello? Yeah, continuously growing data was one of the properties we just explained. If you are uncomfortable, just put it in a yes, one yes. Okay, fine. Okay, so I'm taking that all understood that if I ask you a term, what is big data, then three properties the data should have: velocity, volume, and variety. And what is volume, what is velocity, what is variety? We just discussed that. Okay, and never take an example on yourself. Never refer yourself in the interviews. Just say that according to IBM, according to Gartner. If you'll say that according to IBM, according to Gartner, for freshers I'm talking about, this leaves a positive impact on the HR or on the technical guy over there who is sitting on the other end. That guy will think that, okay, this guy, unlike other freshers, suppose I was also a fresher at one point of time, I was referring Google, YouTube, any other guy who is just giving me some sort of information. I don't know whether that information was true, what was the amount of that information that was appropriate or inappropriate. There are we will find various persons who will give you inappropriate information. Some of the contents will be true, some of the contents will be untrue, but we don't know that. But when you refer to a technology leader, suppose you refer to IBM, you refer to Oracle or Gartner, it leaves a positive impact on the person on the other hand, that this guy is referring to the correct documentation. This word documentation is very important in the tech industry. We always follow the authentic documentation. If you will go to the tech industry interview and you say that I know everything, I can do this, I can do that, they won't take you. They don't need the guys like you. We have storage. We have the storage to store the process. We have the storage to store the methods, how we can go. But which documentation are we referring to do a particular task? That is what matters. It should be authentic. It should be from the technology leaders, because technology leaders have invested their time over that technology, developing some particular thing, and they have almost spent billions of dollars over the technology, and then they can come up with a solution. Okay, if you go this way, you will achieve the results, and if you don't refer to that particular thing, you are in a loss. And the HRs don't want that. The technology person won't want that. They won't want their industry to be in loss. So always refer to the authentic documentation. So if you'll introduce these jargons, we in industry we call it as jargons. I don't know the exact word when we call it in college because I have been a long time. These jargons that IBM said that, Oracle said that, this definitely leaves a positive impact on the other side. Okay. So taking on to the next slide. Okay. All are clear. I'm taking that. Hello.
Hello, Suraj.
Yes.
Yeah, Suraj, I have one question.
Yeah.
You have explained about big data, so I just wanted to know how big data is different from data warehouse.
Yeah.
Because, yeah,
That
so
is my next point. That is my next point. Okay.
oh, okay.
So I am proceeding towards next step. So this is the traditional database systems. I'm taking the architecture of traditional database systems. So it is quite like this. You have online transactional process and you have online analytical process. So how big data is different from the data warehouse? First of all, the data warehouse is as a term. In data warehouse we store the data, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we store the data. Big data is data. Okay, it's a data we need to store it somewhere. So now we'll understand why we cannot store this. First of all, in data warehouse, you have your, for all the freshers, I'm just talking about the data warehouse is something, is something that you store the data in it, that you store the data, okay? You have the data, you store it in, that becomes your data warehouse. Then comes the database that I'll not go in depth with this right now because you'll get confused, okay? I'll just take you with the other example. Big data is a problem we have got. We cannot store this into the traditional database system we have. That is obviously that stores the structured data or semi-structured data because we have all the data in it. If I'll tell you that I want to store images, videos in MySQL or in T-SQL, these are the databases that store the structured data. We cannot store that over there. It will only store the data that is in rows and columns. That is structured data. So that is the problem we face over there. Data warehouse, yes, we do have data warehouse in big data storage as well. That I'll come to the later part. But data warehouse won't uh, store that amount of data, that volume that I'm talking about, the volume that will come and the velocity it will come now, it won't be able to survive that. I'll take the example in the later part of the video, in the later part of the section presentation. But for now, just understand that our data warehouse are not designed in such a way to handle such amount of data that is generating through today's technology. If I'll take an example, suppose if you have a mobile phone, okay. Right now, if you write something, if you are researching about something, it will appear on your Google search as well. No matter how long you avoid it, some on the other way that particular thing comes onto your screen, right? So that is the data that gets processed in the back end of your mobile phone or your whatever SIM provider or something like if you are searching something on Amazon. So Amazon is using your data, your search history. Okay, then it will just contact with the Google. Okay, they pay Google ads. They go pay Google for the ads to display the ads for the relevant content. Then Google search engine. Then when you are on the Google search engine, then their algorithm starts working. They will just these apps are interconnected. Suppose if you have multiple apps in mobile phone, these apps are interconnected. They will just their algorithm will just interact with the apps and they will show only those ads for those ads which you are interested in. Okay, so basically there is a large amount in the nutshell, data warehouse are not designed to handle such large amount of data. What technology is designed, that we'll discuss in the later part of the section. But here we are discussing about why was the big data, why we have to introduce big data, why big data came into existence. Okay, why traditional database system was not it is still working today. I'm not saying that it has gone or it will go over. It will be working for the next 20 years, 30 years. I don't know for how many years. But why is there the need of big data? Why our traditional database systems cannot handle this amount of data or this volume of data and this variety of data? Our traditional systems at the present age will more traditional database system will at the present age have the technologies they have. We have MySQL, we have T-SQL, we have MS SQL. Okay, we have SQL, and we have Oracle database as well. But all these databases are not designed to store unstructured data at all. I'm not forget about raw data. They are not designed to store unstructured data. Semi-structured data, structured data they can store, but unstructured and raw data definitely they cannot store raw data. So how we are going to process that raw data? Okay, that is the challenge that we are facing in the 21st century. Now, where this raw data comes into the use, I'll just tell you one example. Okay, you broke a you just suppose you are going to some place and you break a signal. Okay, the next day you check in the morning in the website of the RTO that you will have your bike number, that particular image where you broke the signal, and the challan, right? Uh, right or wrong? Hello,
Yeah.
right? So you will have the channel. So what? So they have processed a raw image, that is your the signal of your vehicle, structured data, that is the challan, as well as your name, address, and everything. So all these data are processed. Uh, and now how these are we'll talk about how these data are processed. And you see that the signals, the traffic signals, they have the traffic cameras from past almost 6 to 7 years. And this signal, this challan thing just came 2.5 years back. So what were they doing for the rest of the time over there? They were not there for only surveillance. They were gathering those videos all over the they were gathering those videos, those 4 years of data, those 5 years of videos, those images. They were looking, they were analyzing. We call this as machine learning. Okay, I'll discuss about what is machine learning. They were analyzing it. What is the what if suppose if some particular case happened, if a guy broke the signal, what is this? This is an offense. What is the charge for this offense? This is the charge for the offense. Suppose an emergency vehicle is waiting in the traffic signal, and ambulance is waiting at the traffic signal, or a fire brigade truck is waiting at the traffic signal. They will automatically switch on the green light and open the traffic for them, because they are in emergency. So how these machines are analyzing the data, that is the different thing, but this data is the thing that we are focused on. These machines are analyzing this real-time data, these videos, these audios. That is the raw data that is generating constantly 24/7, saving into their systems, and they are analyzing. So this our traditional system was not capable of doing. Okay, understood this problem? Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll talk about other problems in traditional systems. Suppose I'll talk one more example. Suppose you have suppose I have a SIM of Vodafone company. I have been using it from 2000 till 2020. I have been a loyal customer of Vodafone. They are providing me with better plans. Now, the thing is here, they have a traditional database system will only store 40% of the data in the real time. Okay, in this online transactional processes, this data is the real time data. That means, what is real time? That means if I want to access this data, I can get this data in real time. If I'll just click a button that I need this data, data will be thrown at my screen and I can analyze the data. Understood? Once the data gets pulled beyond the next 40% of data is stored over here in this section. Okay, the SLA, service level agreement, that means how soon can I get this data for this particular thing, is about 24 to 48 hours. That means 2 to 4 days. And then the next SLA is between 2 to 4 months. This is the archivals, or we can say the tape drives. You just compress the data and store it over here. Now Vodafone wants to launch a new plan, and they want to see what are the age group of 20 to 30 years people doing, how are they using their internet, how are they using their phone calls, and what is the amount of usage on their text messages. So what is the total amount of data that is present in real time for them? This 40% of data, right? Hello. Okay.
Yes, right.
Yeah, right. And what is the total amount of data that is present for them in next 24 to 48 hours? This, right? So if I'll combine these two data, then we have only 80% of data. Surely they are not going to wait for 2 to 4 months. If you will ask, if some of you is working over there, if I'll tell you that there is a data in in database, you have to fetch the data which is 20 years old. I'm pretty sure that the person, the database administrator working over there will hit me with an iron rod, because this is a pain in the ass over there, because it is very difficult to fetch a data. The fastest I have heard till now, fetching of data of that was almost 30 years old was done by Accenture in 6 months. Okay, this is the fastest I have heard till now. I don't know whether about the other countries, but Accenture has done it in 6 months. So a company won't wait for 6 months to get the data and then then again spend months to analyze it and come up with a plan. The competitors will the competitors will just be ahead of them, and they will be in loss. Understood this one point?
That's correct.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the conclusion was, in today's world, we need 100% data to analyze so that we can come up with a decision whose accuracy is 100%, right? In this case, you have only 80% of data available with you, and the accuracy will always be, success rate will always be 80%. 20% risk are there, right? Suppose if I'll tell you why this accuracy is important. I'll tell you why. I don't. India doesn't have this right now. In India, we don't have this, as we are the third world country. But in USA, in Europe, in Russia, Australia, they have this technology, right? I'll just tell you what are they. We have right now, how many smart devices are there in our home? One is our smartphone, right? Most of us do not have Alexas or any other AI machine like that. We just have a smartphone and smart TV. Most of them, 2 or 3 devices are the smart devices. But in first world countries, they have everything smart. Their laptop is smart, their phone is smart, their geyser is smart, microwave oven is smart, gas is smart, AC is smart, TV is smart, everything is smart. So suppose they are gathering data. These smart devices are gathering data and sending to one particular location, and they are analyzing the data 24/7. Okay. Now suppose I am waking up at 7 a.m. in the morning. It's 20 degrees Celsius over there. The smartphone just indicate to the smart geyser that there is 20 degrees Celsius, warm the water. This guy regularly baths at 7:30. The geyser will automatically will get itself on at 7:20, and it will warm the water for me. So I'll get up at 7:30 and go for a bath. Okay. Now I'm driving. Okay. My car knows the route through which I go to the office. Now there is my car is constantly touched with the traffic signals, and it is constantly touched with the Google Map, and it shows in Google Map, it shows red, right? Red lines. Red line means that there is a traffic jam over here. So my car knows that if this guy takes this route, he will get delayed. So it will show me in another route that you should go with this route, and you will reach to your office, right? So how is this happening with them? These smart devices have access to 100% of data in real time. That is why they are able to do such things. Understood? Hello?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Understood the problem? These were the problems. I hope that everybody has understood the problems. I'll move to the next slide. So this was the problem that we were facing with the big data, a traditional database system. Now, let's have a look at the solution. Okay, the solution is Hadoop. So somebody asked me that data warehouse. So that was the storage where we store the data. This is Hadoop. This where we store the data in our Hadoop. Okay. Now, what is Hadoop? What is the architecture of Hadoop? We'll look into that. But what does this thing do? This Hadoop will get, okay, one more thing that I forgot to tell you. This data which is stored in this section is also called as hot data, as it is available in real time. This data is called as warm data, 24 to 48 hours, and this data is called as cold data. Okay, so this I forgot to tell you in the previous slide. Now what this Hadoop does, this guy just makes the data 100% of data available in real time and makes all the data hot data. That means your machine, forget machine, you have access to 100% of the data in real time. And now when you have access to 100% of the data in real time, the success rate of the decision that you will make will be 100%. Okay, understood? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, fine, let's move ahead. Okay, what is Hadoop? I'm not saying the Apache Hadoop. These guys have developed Hadoop. They are telling it collection of open source software utilities. Okay, just get this word in your head. Collection of open source software utilities. What does IBM said? No single technology can be called big data. That means Hadoop in itself is working with multiple technologies to get this data, to retrieve this data, okay, or to process this data. Understood? So here is the collection of Hadoop is the collection of multiple open source technologies that facilitate using network many computers to solve problems involving machines. That is something else. Now we'll just move towards the understood till this point. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Now let us understand the architecture of Hadoop. Now, one question was now I hope that question was cleared, that what data warehouse thing, right? Whoever asked that question, is there any doubt now?
No, it's clear.
It's clear now. Our
Yeah.
data warehouse, look, data warehouse is in Hadoop as well. Hadoop has a technology called Hive that is itself a data warehouse, but that warehouse is not capable enough to handle such a large amount of data. Obviously, that Hive will handle more amount of data than our traditional data warehouses, but not large enough. Then that's why we have to jump to database. And the database we have in Hadoop, it is using another technology called HBase. So that is why our traditional database systems are not able to handle such amount of data, such variety of data, or such volume of data. Okay. Now
Okay.
let's proceed to the architecture of Hadoop. So if you'll see, there was one thing I just wanted to discuss over here, that this diagram I have taken it from Quora, right? So these guys are themselves confused. How, what are they dealing with? And okay, there is one more diagram in the Hadoop, in the Apache Hadoop. I was not able to find that diagram. I have seen that diagram, and that diagram looked pretty much like this. Okay, that diagram was good in graphical representation. So let's start with this. Now you can understand that there is something name node, secondary name node, resource manager, data node, and task tracker. There are something like this you are able to understand with this diagram. So key lesson for the freshers: don't go for Quora or Stack Overflow or something like that. Always go for the authentic documentation. Okay. Coming back to the architecture of Hadoop. So what is Hadoop and how does it exactly work so that all this data is available in real time? As you can see over here, these 6 rectangles over here are 6 machines, machine servers. Server means machines. Suppose these 6 rectangles, for the freshers, consider it as 6 laptops, 6 different laptops with 6 different configurations. Okay, the configuration for these 3 machines will be different, and I'll call this at, okay, where am I? Okay, uh, server, I think that the freshers won't be able to understand what exactly a server is or a machine is, so I'll just call them laptops for your better understanding. There are 6 laptops. Okay, these 3 laptops have different configuration, and these 3 laptops will have different configuration. Each and every laptop will have a role to play. Now consider this: there is 6 blank laptops. Only they have what they have with them, their configuration, that is the processing power, their RAM, and their storage. So the architecture of Hadoop pretty much looks like this. There are mainly 5 services: the secondary name node, resource manager, data node, and task tracker. Okay, now for freshers, they won't be able to understand the servers and the service. Usually they get confused between the server and the service. So I'll just consider this in this way, that these are 6 laptops. These 3 laptops will have same configuration, and these 3 laptops will have same, but both of them will have different configurations. Right now there is nothing installed in them. Okay, these are the services, secondary name node we call them, and in industry we call them as daemons. Okay, but for your better understanding, I'll call them as applications, because the freshers understand this term better. That suppose you have a mobile phone, you have an application, you're using an app service. So you have these laptops, 6 laptops, and we are going to install some applications over them. Right now these laptops only have with them their processor, their RAM, and their storage. Okay, now these 3 laptops, I will call them as masters. Why masters? We will discuss later. Okay, and these three laptops will call them as slaves. Fine. Now these three laptops, number one, number two, number three, I will use these laptops to store my data. Now when I say they are going to store my data, the storage of these three laptops will be far greater than these three laptops, as they are not going to store the data. As I said, the data is in variety, volume, and velocity. So the storage will be higher for these laptops, and the processor power will be slightly lower than these three laptops, because the processing that they are going to do the processing. Obviously, you have the data, you have to do something with it. You have to do the analytics with it. Otherwise, what is the fun of storing all the data? Why is the company investing such amount of money to just get this thing done, to get this Hadoop architecture over there in their machines? Fine. So these processings are going to be done by these machines, and these machines will have far more processing power than these laptops. For example, consider that these laptops are having i9 with the 8th gen processor. Okay, there is a GPU installed in it. There is a graphics card of almost 15 to 20 GB. I'm just explaining it by a layman language. Okay, uh, the real example will be different, but this will get you the idea what exactly this is. Okay, and they will have suppose, take the example, they will have a storage of 256 GB or 512 GB. Okay, so as we can see, these have much higher processing power. They have the latest processor with the latest technology. They also have the GPU installed with them. They also have the graphics card with them, with that 2 of 12 or 16 GB. And their RAM will be also greater than this. Suppose they have almost 32 or 56 GB of RAM installed in them as a laptop. Huh? I'm not talking about those machines. Those machines have almost 512 to 1 TB of RAM installed in them. Okay, so everybody just understood the specification of these three master laptops. Hello.
Yes.
Now moving ahead, let us come to these three laptops. These are the data nodes. They are going to store the data. Now, as I said, they are going to store the data. They should have a large amount of storage with them. Normally, laptops have 1 TB, 2 TB. I'll take 20 TB of data in each of the data node. This will have 20 TB. This will have 20 TB. This will have 20 TB. But the processing power will be low. Suppose all these three laptops will have i3 processor, and RAM will also be low. If these guys are having 32 GB of RAM, these will be having only 4 GB of RAM, because they are there only to store the data, nothing else. And these guys are going to process the data. Understood till this point?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll see what is the role of each and every application. I'm saying application, don't say in the interview application, they'll throw you out. I either say service or either say daemon. Application is just to make you understand. Okay, now I'll install this application, secondary name node in this laptop. I've installed name node in this laptop, resource manager in this laptop, two applications in this laptop, data node and task tracker, two application in this, two application in this. Now what these applications do: whenever we need to store the data, okay, as I said, Hadoop is a big data is a collection of technologies. To store, to have work with big data, we need a collection of technologies. So right now we have five services with them. We will use one other service. There are multiple services which we can use. Now I am using one more service, that is Flume, to get the data into these data nodes right now, because the data will be in abundance, data will be in variety, and data will have this name node stores the data in these data nodes. Understood? The name node, the service of the name, the role of the name node. Now we need to process the data as well. So whenever a request comes to name node that we need to process the data, name node knows that the data which we need to process is present in which node. Suppose that data is present in this particular node. It will tell resource manager that the data that you need to process is present in this node. This is the data. This is the location of the data. Just process that data. Whatever the program is, MapReduce program, Spark program, streaming program, whatever, they just process it. Resource manager will contact the task tracker of this particular data node, and this task tracker will help resource manager to find the data and process the data, return the result to the resource manager. Resource manager will return the result to the name node, and the result will be displayed to the client side. Understood the
Yes.
resource manager and task tracker? Now, what is
Yes.
the role of
Yeah,
secondary name node?
right.
Secondary name node is just the backup of name node. Suppose if name node goes down, this whole cluster will go down because name node is the heart of this cluster. Everything that is done through name node. Suppose if name node goes down, this secondary name node will come to active, will become active name node, and this will handle all the necessary operations. And then we in that are in big data, we have to look out why this name node has gone down, and we have to make this node up again. Now I have and data node, that means that will store the data, obviously. Now understood the roles of all these services, daemons or applications for the freshers,
Yeah, Suraj.
right? Hello.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Now this in this way, suppose as you can see, the data is distributed over here. Some data is in data node, this data node. Some data is in this data node. Some data is in this data node. So data is distributed across various data node, and name node knows where the data is. Suppose if a particular data is, if a particular chunk of data is, where the data is residing, in which data node is residing. Okay, that is how 100% of the data becomes the hot data. The SLA becomes the real time, because you just put the service, put the request to the name node. Name node knows that chunk of data is in that particular data node. It will contact resource manager. Resource manager will contact the task tracker. Task tracker will help to find the data, and the application or the program or the analytics will be done on that particular data. Result will be sent back to the client within no time. Understood? Together, all these machines are is called as a cluster. So we call it is as a Hadoop cluster. So in this cluster, I can say in this cluster I have 6 machines. Okay, 3 machines are data nodes and 3 machines are master nodes. In the real time, in the industry we have a cluster comprising of almost 250 to 300 machines on an average basis. Facebook has a cluster of 1200 machines. Okay, and the largest was developed by Yahoo, that was a 5,000 machines cluster. Now understand, if I'll take in 5,000 machines, I can surely say that 4,950 machines will be data nodes. And if I consider one machine as 20 TB, multiply it by 4,950, and that will be the amount of storage you will get. Understood? So
Yeah.
this is how large your Hadoop database, Hadoop system is. Understood this point?
Yes.
Now let us move towards the other part of our, that is data analytics. Okay. Till now we were only talking about the data, how to handle data, where to handle data, how to get the data. Okay, how to process the data. Now we'll talk about data analytics. Now you have the data in your system. You have a big data team that is looking after that system. They are taking care of the data. Now what data analytics does? As I said, if Vodafone wants to come up with a plan, they will analyze the data. If suppose if some company was to come up with a plan, they would analyze the data. The traffic cameras, they are analyzing the data with machine learning algorithms. These smart devices, they are analyzing the data with machine learning algorithms. So that is the data analytics field. You have to work on this big data. You have to analyze this big data and come up with some resolutions. Okay. Now, data analysis is a process of inspecting, cleansing, transforming, and modeling data. As I said in the previous slide, you just have to get the data. As I now we have understood that the data can be in variety, right? The data can have structured data, unstructured data, raw data, or semi-structured data. And with this, all this data, we get some BERT also. In data, we call it as veracity. Okay, there will be a plenty of data that is not of our use. So we have to cleanse that data, get our data that we need for our analytics, transform that data, modeling. That is, this thing is particularly done in machine learning, modeling the data or training the system to get to something, to get to this, to just get some insights from the data so that a company can take a decision, right? Uh, so you have seen in the C-suite, if suppose if you are presenting a meeting to the C-suite, that is a CFO, will they be interested in seeing the numbers, or will they be interested in seeing the charts or graphs? obviously they will be interested in seeing the graphs, because a graph can clearly give you the insight that how a particular decision is going. Is it going well or is it not going well? Numbers are not going to tell you so. Numbers are not going to show you that particular thing. If I'll take an example, consider an Excel sheet. You have an Excel sheet of suppose incoming traffic vehicles and outgoing traffic vehicles from a toll naka. Okay. Now you have two insights. Traffic is coming in from a particular toll naka and traffic is going out, and you are taking the charges from both the sides. Now the owner of the particular toll naka want to review the insight. Okay. So how they are going to store the data? The particular guy over there will just get a register for himself. It will write something over there and it will show him the register. Now the particular owner have to go through the register and manage each and every record, see each and every record, and he had to come up with a plan. Suppose if the toll Noka is going in profit or something like that, they have their own duties to perform. It's just an example. Or if by anyhow we can just get the charts, incoming traffic, outgoing traffic. There are straight two lines. Okay, now I can clearly say that which one is in profit. Suppose if an incoming traffic graph is way higher than the outgoing traffic, I can say that the traffic from that end is not so, the flow of the traffic from that particular end is not so good. So I can directly see at the chart and we can make the decision in an instant, right? So that is why data analytics is required. Now, what are the prerequisites? Not the, I won't call this as prerequisites. I will call as that we need these things. We need to know this. We need to know these technologies to work in data analytics field. We have to have the knowledge of database. We have to have the knowledge of Python, that is a programming language, and any one of the data visualization tool, Tableau and Power BI. For freshers, if you have hands-on experience on these three technologies, you will be you will be just separated from rest freshers, because all the freshers won't be, suppose there are some guys who can, because they don't have the idea on which technology is exactly required for data analytics. Data analytics is entirely a different term. Which technology is exactly required to work in big data? In big data, you need the basic knowledge of Linux, database as well. Okay, cloud and Hadoop. In data analytics, yes, database is there because both of these guys are going to work in data. Python data visualization tool. Okay, in database, we store the data. In Python, we just write the particular program to analyze the data. It is not necessary that you have to write the program. You will start as a data analyst, then you will go for data analytics, then you will come to the BI team, business intelligence team. Then you can go towards a step ahead, that is the data scientist. Data scientist, there this thing comes, Python. Training the system, making machine learning algorithms, that is done in either Python or R. These two languages are being used for machine learning algorithms. That is far ahead step, but at least you should know the basics of Python.
Suraj,
Yes.
I have one question. Do we need this Python language or any other language can work in data analytics?
Yeah, any other language will work because Python is the easiest of them all. If you know any other language, they will teach you Python as well, because uh, as I said, data analytics is something you deal with data. Okay, suppose if you know Java, you know C++. These two languages work in real time. Okay, but now what does real time mean? Suppose if you throw a program, if you run a program, you will get the results in real time. Okay, we don't need any delay over here. So these two languages will help you to get in that that real time part, big data, right? But when you deal with this data, you train the language, you train a particular system to analyze the data. That is done mostly in Python and R. But obviously, if you know any other language, it will be very easy for you to learn Python. However, if you have an experience in any other language, they will make you learn Python, because they know Python is easy to learn. If you know Java, Java is much complex than Python. If you know Java, then surely you can learn Python as well. Understood?
Yeah.
So this is the graphical representation. This is the big data storage. We have Hadoop, we have MongoDB, we have Rainstar. We talked about Hadoop only, right? Then analytics, Spark, blockchain, NIME, Splunk, Kafka, Flume, and R. Okay, visualization, Tableau, Plotly, Splunk. Again Splunk. Then again mining. Mining means to dig the data, to cleanse the data. RapidMiner and Elasticsearch. These two are different technologies. So this is why big data is important for the foundation, because the next industry, next 30 to 40 years are going to be stored in this. Okay. So the technologies that you will learn for big data, that you should learn for big data, is Linux, cloud. If you know, that is a plus point. Hadoop is mandatory and database is mandatory. And what are the career paths that you can go? That you can go as a big data developer, you can go as a Hadoop developer, and later on when you have tons of experience, like we have these guys, 7 years of experience, 10 years of, they can directly go to admin positions. That means they are the architects. Suppose I just showed you a cluster. That was the basic diagram. There are tons of things when you plan a cluster. You need to know the configuration, you need to set the database, how many machines should be there, what are the configurations, what will the service that you are going to use. There are tons of services with the database, with the Hadoop. So you need to know which service you are going to use and which service you are not going to use. So mostly they work here, and these guys are going to talk with their clients, how they are going to help them with their data. Okay. Now coming to data analytics, database is must. If you know, apart from Python, if you know any other language, that is good, but ultimately you are going to come again on Python. Okay. And it is easy to learn. Then Tableau or Power BI, whatever it is, whatever you learn, both are easy to learn. And the careers are data analytics, business intelligence, data scientist. On the later stage of your career, you can go over there, you can opt as well. Till now, any questions? Hello?
Guys, you can type also if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have concluded my session. This was the introduction to big data and data analytics. If you have any question, you can just ask me over here, or you can type it in the chat box, and I'll answer that.
I have one question regarding that architecture diagram.
Yeah. You need me to go back to that architecture diagram? Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hadoop architecture?
Yes.
This
yeah,
one?
this one.
Yes.
So, what in case resource manager gets down? Do
We in our cluster, we have the backup of each and everything. This resource manager gets down, we have the backup of resource manager. This is called as high availability. That you will learn in big data. Okay. Suppose
Okay.
if you will say that a data in this node goes down, so that data is lost forever. No,
Yes.
the data which is stored in this node, 3 copies of that data is being made. Okay. Here I have taken 3 nodes. So the data which is in this node, same amount of data will be in this node, same amount of data will be in this node. Suppose if this node goes down, okay, we have the 2 nodes. If your interviewer asks, if this node also goes down, okay, we have 1 more node. Suppose if sometimes interviewer, when I was a fresher, interviewer asked me, suppose if all the 3 nodes goes down, I directly, फिर तो building ही गया ना पूरा, फिर तो भी क्या बचेगा? Understood? So
yes.
that is the level of high availability we have. If any node goes down, we have the backup of that thing. If all those goes down, then the world will come to an end. That is for sure.
Okay. So for every cluster, we have only one resource manager.
No, not one resource manager. As I said, when it comes to industry standard, we have the high availability. We will have one more resource manager. If this goes down, that will take over its place.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That understood.
That is why a cluster will comprise of 250 nodes. These are 6 nodes. We can call them as nodes. A cluster will comprise of 100, 150, 250. These are the average size of the clusters.
Okay. Also, from the diagram, is secondary name node always connected to name node, or
Yes.
or
Secondary name node is always in touch with name node. Suppose I'll tell you why. Suppose if you have 2 teachers in your class, right?
Mhm.
If one teacher is teaching you maths and he comes to a point and he fell sick, he cannot come to a class, then he needs to update the other teacher that this is a topic that you have to take, right?
Yeah.
So that is in the same case, name node and secondary name node are always connected to each other. There's a mechanism through which they share the data. Name node is always updated about the cluster. Okay. Suppose if this goes down, this can take its place easily.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, that's it.
Fine, guys. Understood?
And
So
also,
I have
what
one
is?
Yeah.
So-
One at a time. Vineet, you were asking something.
Yeah, just wanted to ask the difference between a Hadoop developer and a big data developer.
Yeah, Hadoop
Roles.
developer and a developer are 2 different things. Hadoop developer will work on the cluster only. Okay. As I said, Hadoop is not the only technology that stores big data.
Okay.
Good. So big data developer works on different technologies. He will work on Spark as well. He will work on Kafka as well. These are multiple technologies that can store big data, but Hadoop is not the only one. Understood?
Okay. So big data, what is the work of big data developer? Like,
Big data developer writes the program. Suppose if you need there now the teams gets connected. Suppose you have a manager, he needs an insight on a data, right? He
okay,
will contact that big data developer that write me a MapReduce program that will get me this result. He will
okay,
write the program, submit it to the administrator. Hadoop administrator is one other thing. Administrator is responsible for the lookout of that cluster you have. He will run that program on that administrator, on that cluster, and get the results back to this developer. This developer will get back to that
okay,
manager.
okay.
Understood?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
One more. There was some other asking questions.
I was having the same question, difference between big data and Hadoop. That is
Understood?
answered. Yeah,
Okay.
understood.
So guys, anyone else have any questions?
Okay, we can conclude over here.
Yeah.
So just one question.
Yeah.
So like we had this introduction to big data as well as data analytics. So what will be in the following sessions?
Yeah, in the following session.
What can we expect?
Yeah, in the following session, there are 2 more sessions that I am going to conduct. But these sessions will be separate. Those who are interested in the big data part can come to that part. I can the technologies that I showed you, that I will take the introduction of those technologies now. Suppose we have cloud, we have Linux. I'll just get you through those technologies. And those who are having interest in big data analytics, they can come in the other session. Both the sessions will be on the same day on different timings, so they can have a look over there. I'll take the introduction to Python database. What exactly is database? I'll explain you, and the visualization tool. And if you need to attend both sessions, you can attend both sessions as well. After that, you can
Okay.
decide which way you want to go.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Now we can conclude on this.
Yeah. Thanks, Suraj. I think the session was very, very great.
Actually, I I
Yeah,
have one more.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have one more question. Last question. So question is, as we in the start, in the beginning, you told that big data is a collection of structured data, unstructured data, raw data. So and you also cleared it out that raw data is images and videos or other
Images,
things.
videos, files.
And
Yeah.
then what is unstructured data?
Unstructured data. Have you seen a notebook?
Yeah.
How do we write in notebook? Structured is when you have the data is in tabular format, right? You
Okay.
make the tables. And
Okay.
unstructured, that means you have paragraphs.
Okay. Okay.
That is the kind of unstructured data. You have pages, documentations. That is unstructured, semi-structured data and unstructured data.
Okay. Okay. So okay, got it.
Look, you have a book, you have a textbook. You have a suppose you have 500 pages of documentation, right?
Yeah.
Some of those documentation will be in tabular format, and some of those documentation will not be in tabular format. So that comes into the category of semi-structured or unstructured, completely unstructured data.
Okay.
Understood?
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Any more questions?
No.
Okay. So thanks, Suraj. It was very nice session, and it was very good session. Being from IT industry, it was very, very grateful. So I hope, guys, you all will be in the next session, which will be very beneficial for you. Just a quick information, guys. We have an ongoing session of Java on Sunday, same time. So which will be of OOPS concept. So if you want to brush up your concepts or you want to learn Java, so you can join that session also. You can get all the information on our Facebook page, Java or website page. You can get that information. And also we are going to share a feedback form, which after this session, after some time, do share your feedback, which it's very important for us to know how you think the session is going on, if you want any changes or you want to know anything new. So do share that feedback. And yeah, I think it's pretty much for today's session. Thank you all for joining this session, and have a good day, and stay home safe, stay safe. Bye bye.